What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again with the Odd Shopper channel. And today we're talking college football betting, week 3, the Friday 3-game slate. Before we get started, make sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when this and all other content goes live. We're also brought to you by Caesars Sportsbook. They have an offer for new users right now where you can bet $50 and get $250 in the form of bonus bets. You'll get $50 right when that first wager settles, and then another $50 each of the next 4 weeks. Those need to be used within 7 days of issuance. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Phenomenal way to increase your bankroll, and maybe you can use one of those bets on a play on this Friday night card. 3 games, and we kick things off with Virginia taking on Maryland. This is a game I already bet, and it is one I am a little surprised where the line is moving. Makes me a little hesitant, but I like over 48.5 in this game. I'm a little surprised to see the under taking so much money. Virginia's 80th in pace, Maryland 64th. Maryland was faster than that last year. They were 54th. They've played 2 really bad schools to start the year in Charlotte and Towson. I mean, this offense is basically going to score at will, in my opinion. Comes down to, can Virginia keep up? You look at Maryland, right now is the best time to be betting this team. Tagovailoa is healthy. They have a pretty decent offensive line. They've only allowed pressure on 19% of dropbacks. Receivers are great. Jayshon Jones, Caden Prather, the list goes on. Dipray's had an awesome season at tight end. This is a good Maryland team. Defense has some questions. They did replace a decent amount this year. Can Virginia exploit that? I'm not sure, but one positive for this Virginia team who's played poorly to start the year. I mean, they got blown out by Tennessee and then lost to James Madison by a point. They covered in the game, though. Tony Muskett got hurt at quarterback. That opened the door for Anthony Colandrea, a freshman, to play for them. He's actually been pretty good. The guy can run a little bit. The offensive line is certainly bad. He'll have to overcome that. And they do mitigate some of his mobility. They have a 39% pressure rate, which is one of the worst in the country, but Colandrea can escape some of that with his mobility. He has a 63.5% completion for 11.8 yards per attempt, 3 big-time throws, 3 turnover-worthy plays. He's just straight up outplayed Tony Muskett to start the year, and I think he deserves to be the starter in this game. Maryland certainly has advantages here. I think if you're betting something against the spread, it's still probably Maryland. But man, if Colandrea can even get this team to like 14 points, I think Maryland does the rest for you. And you're getting over this 48.5. It's a fast-paced game. Virginia's defense doesn't scare you. Maryland's defense has some problems. We'll go over. This is my favorite bet on Friday night. Second game, Army takes on UTSA. 9-point spread, 45 total. Army and the under are taking a ton of money. There was a report that came out earlier this week that Frank Harris is playing through a toe injury. Maybe that explains how bad he's been so far this year. But at some point, this has probably gone too far, as long as Frank Harris is in. We'll start with the Army side. They lost to Louisiana Monroe, 17-13. That game was ugly. And Monroe actually, they bested them in yards per play. Monroe was at 4.7, Army at 4.5. I mean, Army allowed 6.5 yards per carry to Louisiana Monroe. That was horrible. And then they followed it up the next week with a slaughtering of Delaware State, which we can't really take a lot from. But you know what Army is doing. They're running the triple option or a version of it. They're updating a little bit this so far this year. But, I mean, that Louisiana Monroe game might have been the worst game of all time. Ton of turnovers. Army had 3 fumbles, 2 interceptions. They missed a field goal. Louisiana Monroe threw a pick 6. They missed a field goal. Basically, every point scored in that game was the result of the opposing offense giving the other team the ball in like plus territory in scoring position. So Army's got problems, especially against that run. UTSA, I'm only worried about Frank Harris. If he's healthy, I think this is a team you can buy in a spot like this. At some point, they're going to have their receivers fully healthy. DeCorian Clark warmed up last game, didn't end up playing. I think he probably plays here. If he's warming up and fully suited up a week ago, he should be just a week closer to returning. UTSA comes with problems themselves. They have a bad offensive line. A ton of guys got starts last year because they were so healthy. Or excuse me, they were so hurt, the exact opposite. But this unit isn't any better. They're allowing a ton of pressure on Frank Harris dropbacks. 35.5%, another one of the worst marks in the country. The defense has been pretty decent, but shockingly, they've been bad against the pass. This is not what I expected from them this year. They're actually skewed towards defending the run well, which in this spot sets up perfectly against Army. It's a team playing the triple option. So I think the money coming in on Army is kind of shocking to me. Frank Harris played through the toe last week. I think he plays through it this week. Maybe you get Corian Clark back. But the way this UTSA defense sets up, being so strong against the run, they're kind of tailor-built to beat Army. So I know it's going to be slow, run-heavy game. But man, UTSA 9 points. That's where I'm putting my money if I'm taking it. I'm going to wait. Maybe Army takes some more and we see them get to like +8, +7. If that's the case, I'll be ready to play UTSA. But right now, just a lean. We'll wait and see if we can't get a better number on the Roadrunners. Last game, another Armed Force game. Utah State takes on Air Force. The spread is 10. The total is 46.5. We've seen these teams play one competitive game, one non-competitive game apiece. Utah State lost to Iowa week 1, 24-14, before they demolished Idaho State 78-28. Air Force beat Robert Morris in a non-competitive game before the game of the year. Air Force beat Sam Houston 13-3. Sam Houston getting the cover. Both these teams have a lot of questions. I thought it was positive that Utah State played Iowa so closely. They're only missing Otto Tia at receiver. That's really the only loss they have. But Cooper Lega has been pretty good, 72% completion, 5.3 yards per attempt, not throwing the ball downfield. He actually played decent against Iowa. And I actually like the skill position players here, like Bonds. They've got some good receivers. The offensive line has allowed a 22% pressure rate, but 13 of the 18 pressures they've allowed came against Iowa. Still, that's pretty good. And they had 2 new offensive linemen. So this team can block pretty well. It's a bit surprising. I didn't expect it. I want to see them continue this before I fully buy in, but at least early returns have been good here. I do not think this Utah State defense is going to be very good this year. The one thing I'll say is they did only allow 2.4 yards per carry to Iowa. Now, is that a function of they're strong on defense or Iowa just flat out can't play offense? I don't know. But the defense was gutted this offseason. They only returned 2 players who had over 400 snaps. There's a lot of reason for concern with this Utah State defense. My question is, can Air Force exploit it? For as good as Air Force has looked through 2 games, they haven't really been tested. Their offense returns 4 starters in the offensive line. Their losses include Brad Roberts and Zeke Daniels. I think they'll be fine at those positions. Air Force can just plug and play on offense. The defense replaced everyone in their front 7 except 1 starter. So at some point, I think a team's going to be able to run on Air Force and best them in that way. They haven't faced a team that can do that yet. I don't think Utah State is that team. My inclination here is to back Air Force, but I do not like the number. I think if you got a 9.5 or something, I'd be more willing to look at this. But right away out of the 3 games on this slate, this is my least favorite. It's more just a pure stay away. I think if there's anything you wanted to bet here, you could maybe look at the under. The problem here is Utah State's fast and pass heavy. They're 20th in seconds per play, pass 67% of the time. Again, I think Air Force is weaker up front, so they don't really play into that weakness or potential weakness. Air Force is 133rd in pace, and they pass 8% of the time. So right away, they're going to slow teams like Utah State. Maybe the under is worth a look here, but it's just going to be a complete pass for me. We'll look to the first 2 games and look to Saturday. Speaking of which, Betting U is already out. You can check out that video here on the Odd Shopper channel on YouTube. I will get into some of the greasier games on Saturday in a personal VOD, so if you'd like to look at some of the deep cuts for college football, that'll be out here soon. Otherwise, if you'd like to reach out, I'm on Twitter at @bet_Gajewski. Thank you guys for watching. Good luck, and we'll catch you again tomorrow.